Okay, guys. So today we're going to continue looking at the reading section. We're going to finish today looking at the theory, looking at the different question types. We started on Tuesday and we've been through a couple of questions so far. I remember that we've done detailed questions first. We did accept questions. Then we did inference. We did detail, accept, inference, purpose, paraphrase, and reference so far, right? So we're missing vocabulary, insert text, and summary. So let's take a look. So yes, we did detail, we did accept, we did inference questions, we did purpose questions, paraphrase questions, questions so far. Right? Am I forgetting something? We did up until this point, right? Okay, guys. So what we're going to start with vocabulary questions. Okay, first of all, for vocabulary questions, well, vocabulary questions are going to give you a word from the text, and they will ask you to choose the best or the closest synonym to that word in the options. Okay, guys? So, to be honest with you, there's never going to be a strategy that you can use that will lead you to be 100% sure of your answer if you don't have good academic vocabulary. Because to answer this question, you just need vocabulary. That's it. Okay, guys? Of course, we're going to see some strategies. We're going to talk about some things. But at the end of the day, what matters the most is your vocabulary. So my suggestion for these questions is expand your academic vocabulary. And this goes for the entire TOEFL test in general. What I would suggest you do is that you read a lot and then you start trying to guess the meanings of the new words from the context, and then that you check the meaning, the actual meaning of the word and some synonyms. Okay, don't study words translating them into Spanish, because that's not a good idea for the TOEFL test. But instead, do what I'm saying. So read a lot, listen to different content, and when you hear a question or when you see when you see a word or when you hear a word that you don't understand, then try to guess what it means from the context. And then check if your guess was correct and look for some synonyms of the word. Look for some examples. You can always search it in maybe Youglish, where you can see how the word is being used in context and how it's pronounced, and that's how you learn vocabulary. Now, another thing that I can tell you for vocabulary is study adjectives. That's very important for vocabulary. Most of the time you'll encounter a lot of adjectives in these questions. And another thing is learn the meanings of some suffixes and prefixes. The most common and most used prefixes and suffixes, all right? Those parts of the word that are placed before the word root or after it, right? In the beginning or in the end of the word. If you do that, then you'll quickly expand your vocabulary. Let's see what these questions look like. Maybe, Guadalupe, could you please help me out by reading this question, question 2?
Okay, the word ingenuity in paragraph 2 is close to meaning to.
Okay, thank you. So that's what this question looks like. It's like the word X in paragraph X is closest to meaning to. You know that's a vocabulary question. Now, in this case, this is perhaps one of the only questions in which you have to read the options first. So you have the options ambition, sincerity, faith, and cleverness. Now, technically, you guys need to find an option that means the same as ingenuity from the dictionary, or not the same, not exactly the same, but is the closest in meaning. We're talking about like dictionary meaning to the original word, but also an option that fits the context in which this word is being used in the paragraph. Okay, guys? So what do you think so far? The first thing you need to do is ask yourselves, do you know this word? Have you used this word before? Are you familiar with it? If you had to choose an option, what option would you choose as a synonym for this word? So do you guys know a synonym for this word in the options? What would it be? Does anyone know?
Cleverness.
Okay. How sure are you that it's cleverness? From on a scale of what? Of 1 to 10. From 1 to 10.
10.
Okay. So if that's the case, if you guys are completely sure that you know the word, that you're familiar with it, you've seen it before, and you can use it, then you go ahead, you choose that option, and you move on to the next question. Do not waste your time doing anything else. If you know that it's cleverness, you're sure, you click on that one, it's gonna take you 10 seconds, and you move on. Now, in case that you guys didn't know the meaning of the word, you've never seen it before, maybe if you're not so sure that it's cleverness, then try to look for some context clues. So try to see how this word is being used and what is the context for this word. How do you do that? By finding the main idea in the text, finding the main idea in the paragraph. So what is this paragraph about? Can anyone tell me? What is it about?
The development of the Teotihuacan Valley.
Yes. What about the development of the Teotihuacan Valley? They talk about what specifically? They talk about the factors that led to this development, right? Because it says among the main factors are, and they start enlisting the factors that helped this development, that influenced this development. And that is the main idea, right? So the next thing that you have to do is ask yourselves, how does this word ingenuity fits that idea? Like, why is it there? And if you ask yourself that, then it's basically that the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite was actually one of the factors that led to this development, right? It says the exact role of other factors is difficult to pinpoint. For instance, so they're giving us examples of other factors, and one of those factors is the ingenuity and foresightness of the Teotihuacan. That is the context of this work. And that should give you at least an idea about what options make more sense, what options are more likely to be the ones. I'm not telling you what option is correct, right? Because you will never know for sure unless you know the word. But it can give you an idea or it can help you narrow down your choices, eliminate a couple of options. It does help. In this case, for example, would it be that the ambition of the elite influenced the development of the city? Maybe, right? Because if you have an ambitious elite, then that's going to help the development of the place. So it does make sense. Option A is likely to be the one. But if we say the sincerity of the elite or the faith of the elite, they could be. I'm not saying that they won't ever be, but they don't make that much sense, right? If we have to classify our options, option A makes more sense. The ambition of the elite instead of the sincerity or the faith of the elite. And if we look at option D, the cleverness of the elite, it also makes sense, right? Because maybe the intelligence of the elite. So the elite was really intelligent, and that's why they developed so much. So maybe the ambition of the elite, the intelligence, the cleverness of the elite. So that's one thing. Now another thing, it says the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite. It wasn't just their ingenuity, it was also their foresightness. Do you guys know what foresightness is or what it means?
No.
Okay, it's fine. And actually, this is related to what I was just telling. Prefixes and suffixes. Words, prefixes, and suffixes. Because the word foresightness is basically, for is a prefix, Then you have side, which is the root of the word, la raíz de la palabra. Then you have ep and nes, or sideness. Now, if you guys know prefixes and suffix, give me a second. Okay, sorry. So if you guys know prefixes and suffixes, then you know that for basically means future. It means before future. For example, the weather forecast is the weather prediction, right? It's like the forecast, the prediction of the future, the prediction of the weather. You know, forehead, forearm is what's before your arm, right? So foreshadowing, for example, is a technique used in writing where the author like gives some clues about what's going to happen later in the book. So for basically means future before. And sight means vista, right? It comes from the verb see. Sight, like love at first sight. It's one of the senses, vista. And you know that ness is basically a suffix that means that it's a noun. It's a noun. It's not an adjective. It's not a verb. It's a noun. Like cleverness, foresightness. I don't know. There are many nouns that end with that suffix. So if you know that, then maybe you can make yourself an idea of what foresightness means. Foresightness basically is the ability to make predictions about the future, the ability to see the future before it happens, to predict it, and to take provisions. That is foresightness. So maybe that can also help you have more context, because you know that the elite have this ability of making predictions. So is that related to being ambitious? Is that related to being clever? I think that's more related to being clever, right? To being smart and intelligent, being astuto, we can say. So cleverness is the correct choice. But as I'm telling you, there's no way that you're going to get to the correct choice and you will be 100% sure that that's the correct choice if you don't know the words. If you don't know what cleverness is, then you know that's a problem, right? Or if you don't know what ingenuity is, then that's still a problem. So to be honest, it's these questions, you would expect to find like very complex, hardcore words here, but the truth is that you'll find academic words, but you won't find very complex words. So you better expand your vocabulary in order to be able to answer these questions faster and to be sure when you're answering these questions and to get them right. Okay, guys? But in case you didn't know the word, then try to see the clues that you have for that word. Sometimes you have examples. Sometimes you have like relationships between ideas. So we're going to see when we see some more examples tomorrow, but in general, try to see the context like that. What is this word doing in the paragraph? Okay, guys? So is it okay? Do you have any questions about this specific question type? Any comments? All right. So the next question type that we're going to see is called, I feel that we're forgetting one. I don't know why. I feel that we are. With vocabulary, with the detail, except inference function, paraphrase, reference. We're going to insert text in the example. Okay, I don't know why, but I feel like we're 2, 4, 8, 6. Okay, we're good. So, okay, the next question type that we're going to see is called sentence insertion or insert text. Okay, guys? Remember that we're continuing with this same set of Teotihuacan. So it's here. These questions, I'll admit, take more time. Vocabulary questions, technically, you should be able to answer them in like 20 seconds at most, right? If you don't know the word, it'll take you some more time. But if you know the word, it should be about 20 seconds. Now, these questions, insert text, will take you some more time. You know, if I had to talk about all of the question types, vocabulary, reference, detail, paraphrase questions are the fastest ones. So maybe 30, 40 seconds each. But then on the other hand, like let's say these insert text questions, sometimes except questions, inference are going to take you more time. Let's say 1.5 minutes, even 2 minutes sometimes. Okay, so remember that not all questions will take you the exact same amount of time. Now, in this case, for this question, what you guys have to do is they will give you a sentence. It's a sentence that's not in the text originally, and they will tell you that you have to insert that sentence into one space in the paragraph. They give you 4 options, options A, B, C, and D in 4 little boxes, and you have to place or insert this sentence into one of those places. Okay, guys? How do you know where to put it? Based on the content. It has to fit well, right? Tiene que encajar according to the context. So, let's read the instructions, shall we? Maybe, Geraldine, do you mind reading the instructions for this question, for question 9?
Okay. In paragraph 1 of the page, there is a missing sentence. The paragraph is repeated below and shown for letters A, B, C, and D. The indicator where the following sentences could be are.
Thank you. That's fine. So it says exactly what we said, right? There's a missing sentence in this paragraph. We have we have 4 boxes, 4 spaces where this sentence could be played. Now this is the sentence. It says, in fact, artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan have been discovered in sites as far away as the Mayan lowlands, the Guatemalan highlands, northern Mexico, and the Gulf Coast of Mexico. The question is, where would this sentence best fit? Okay, guys, we have options A, B, C, and D. I'll give you some time, I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to tell me where you think this sentence fits best. And then we'll discuss some strategies for this question. Okay, guys. So what do you think? Where would you place that sentence? Anyone?
Maybe is B.
B, okay. You guys agree? What about the rest?
Yes, B.
She says D.
Okay, Natalia, you say D?
Yes.
All right. Okay, guys. So what do you do for these sentences? The first thing that you need to do is obviously read the sentence, the original sentence, or like the extra sentence that they're giving, and analyze what the idea of the sentence is without considering any details. But before you even do that, ask yourself, is this sentence a supporting detail? Because the paragraphs are always going to contain both those two types of sentences. Big ideas, general ideas, and supporting details. Okay, those are the two types of sentences that you can always find in a paragraph. So is this a general idea or is it a supporting detail? What would you guys say? Is this sentence a general idea or a supporting detail?
I think it is supporting an idea.
Exactly, it's a supporting detail because it contains specific details, right? And because it is in fact as well. But mostly because it's a very detailed sentence, right? It includes very specific places, Mayan lowlands, Guatemalan highlands, northern Mexico. If it was a general idea, they would just say artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan have been discovered in places that are very far away. That's it, right? But they are mentioning what places. So it looks like a supporting detail. Most of the time, the supporting details are going to go towards the end of the paragraph. So if I didn't have too much time, I would maybe go for C or D, because it's always going to be towards the end, supporting details. Now, another thing you need to consider now that you know that it's a supporting detail is what is the idea behind this sentence? So you eliminate the details. It says artifacts and pottery from Teotihuacan, and let's say things from Teotihuacan have been discovered in sites as far away as the Mayan lowlands. We're going to forget about all of the details and we're going to say have been discovered in sites that are very far away from Teotihuacan. That is the idea of this sentence, that things from Teotihuacan have been found in places that are far away from Teotihuacan. That's it. So that is one thing. Another thing is that it's a supporting detail. And one more thing that you can do is see if you have any transition words or phrases in the sentence. Most of the time they give you some, so that they give you some clues. Because remember that transitions show you the relationship between ideas. So you know that, for example, if you have the word however, that kind of makes it easy for you. Because if you have the word however, that means that it's contrast. So the idea that you have in the sentence has to be the opposite of the idea that's before. So you're just looking for the sentence that contains the opposite, and that's going to be the sentence before, right? However means contrast. If you have the word as a result, that means that your sentence is the effect. So you're looking for the cause. The cause has to be before, right? If you have the word this is because or this is since, you know that it's cause. So you're looking for the effect before. So these transitions tell you the relationship between sentences. Now, what does the transition in fact mean? When do we use the transition in fact? How is it used? In fact, is used to explain more of an idea. So if we look up in fact use, let's see how it's used. It says, in fact, is a discourse maker. We use in fact to add more detailed information to what has just been said. Right? So for example, if I tell you, I like fast food. In fact, I like pizza, hamburgers, and burritos. So that word, in fact, that transition, in fact, sorry, I'm using it to introduce more details and more detailed information to what I just said, right? First, I said that I like fast food, and then I'm giving you examples, I'm giving you details. So in fact is used to add more detailed information or to add evidence. For example, if I say, I don't know, let's say, I don't know. Let's say that I say, going to bed late is bad for your health. And then I say, in fact, I read some research or I read an article where scientists said that you need to sleep 8 hours to be productive the day before, the day after, right? So what am I doing? I'm saying, let's say going to bed late at night is bad for you. And then I say, in fact, scientists say that to be productive, you need 8 hours of sleep. So that in fact, I'm using it to introduce evidence of what I just said, right? So in fact is used like that, to add evidence or to add more detailed information of what you just said. So in that is already telling you something as well, because you know that this has to be either evidence or it has to be a more detailed explanation of what is before. So based on that, you need to put everything together and you're going to find one sentence that has the same idea, that is related to this idea. That is the big idea because this is the supporting detail. So it has to be the big idea corresponding to this detail. And that probably is towards the end. So if we start looking, let's say option A. The sentence before talks about what? It talks about population, right? It says at its height between AD 150 and 700, it probably had a population of more than 125,000 people and covered at least 20 square kilometers. So what is this sentence about? It talks about population and it talks about length, right? Is that related to this? Not at all. Then it says it had over 2,000 apartment complexes, a great market, a large number of industrial workshops, administrative center. So they're talking about many things here. Industries, administration, religion, architecture, but that's not related to this. So we continue reading. It says clearly much planning and central control were involved. So basically in this sentence, they're just saying that Teotihuacan was very organized, right? Nothing to do with what we're looking for. But if we read this sentence, it says, moreover, the city had economic and perhaps religious contacts with most parts of Mesoamerica, modern Central America, and Mexico. Would you guys say that that idea is related to this idea? It is, right? In a way. Because the idea in the original sentence is to explain how the Teotihuacan's things were found in places that are far away from Teotihuacan. So in this case, they're saying that the Teotihuacan had contacts with other parts of the world, right? With other parts of Mesoamerica. So to me, it does make sense to say that this is the evidence of the previous sentence, right? They say that Teotihuacan have contacts with different parts of Mesoamerica, and then they give the evidence. They explain that with more details. So as a matter of fact, things from Teotihuacan are artifacts and pottery have been found in these places. So this is like the evidence of the fact that Teotihuacan have contacts with these places, right? Because their things, their artifacts, and their pottery were found in these places. So that proves that the Teotihuacan have contacts with these places that are parts of Mesoamerica. So this would be the supporting detail of this big idea. Okay, guys? And option D would be correct. You need to place it at the end of the entire paragraph. So those are some things that we could say about that sentence time. Try to see what the sentence is about. Try to see if you have any transitions, if it's a supporting detail, if it's a big idea. And that will give you some clues as to where it should belong. Okay, guys, it will take you some more time, probably 2 or 3 minutes sometimes. But if you go over than that, then just take a guess, right? Don't waste your time here because it's worth just like the others, the questions. So careful not to waste too much time. So what do you think about that? Do you have any questions? Do you all see why D is the correct option? Okay, guys, awesome. So, that was the second to last question type that we're going to see today. Any questions so far? Okay, guys. So finally, as our last question, we have summary questions, which are always going to be the last question that you get. Okay, this is always going to be the 10th question. So let's take a look. Okay, guys. So summary questions are a little bit, they're going to, let's first talk about what you have to do for these questions. Basically, you guys have to, they will give you 6 options, as you can see here, A, B, C, D, E, and F. You got 6 answer choices, and you need to choose 3 of them that you think are the most important ideas from the text, from the entire passage, right? The entire thing. So 3 options are the summaries for the most important ideas in the text, and you need to choose those 3. Now, this obviously takes longer than the other questions, and it's also worth a little bit more. This question is worth 2 raw points. That means that it's worth like 2 of the other questions. Okay, guys? If you have 1 correct out of 3, you don't get any points. Okay, because remember that you have to select 3 answer choices. If you have 2 correct out of 3, then you get 1 raw point. So it's like you're answering one of the other ones correct. And if you have the 3 out of 3 correct, then you get the full mark, which is 2 raw points. Okay, guys? And obviously, if you get 0, you don't get any points either. Now, this question is going to take you some more time, but I want to give you probably the most important tip that I can give you is please do not waste time on this question. What do I mean by that? Remember that this is the 10th question, right? This is the last one that you get after each passage. Now, remember that you also have 2 passages to answer. So you get 20 questions in total. So, and you get only 1 timer for the entire reading section. So you get 36 minutes for the entire reading. Remember we said that you get 18 minutes per passage, 18 minutes per 10 questions. So let's say that you're finishing the first passage. You have already answered the first 9 questions, and you have 20 minutes left. You're in this question and you have 20 minutes left. How many minutes do you have to answer this question? If you have 20 minutes left, this is the 10th question of the first passage. How many minutes do you have to answer this question? How much time? Okay, I say it again. You have how many minutes for the entire reading? You can tell me how much time do you have for the entire reading? How much time? For
There
the
is
Sorry, Nelly?
for the entire reading section is 36 minutes.
Exactly, 36 minutes. And you only have one time. So that means that you have how many minutes per passage, per 10 questions?
18.
Exactly. So let's say that you have already answered the first 9 questions of the first passage. And you see the timer and you have 20 minutes left for the entire reading. What does that mean? How much time do you have to answer this question, the 10th? All right, you have 18 minutes per passage, but they don't give you a separate timer. You have to organize your time. You have already answered the first 9 questions of the first passage, and you see your clock, you have 20 minutes left for the entire reading. How much time do you have to answer this question?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Exactly. So if you guys have 2 minutes to answer this question, because remember that you can never borrow time from the next one, okay? That's a no-go. You can never do that. So if you only have 2 minutes to answer this question, use those 2 minutes. If you have 1 minute to answer this question, use that minute. If you don't have any time to answer this question because you have already used your 18 minutes, then guess and move on. Okay, guys? But do not borrow time from the next passage. Don't spend 5 minutes when you only have 2. Okay, that's a really bad idea because then you'll run out of time for the next. Okay, guys? And this tends to be a little bit harder and it tends to take more time. So it's useless that you spend 5 minutes here and then you run out of time in the next. Okay? So that will be my most important tip here. All right, the first and most important one. Do not waste time on this question. If you have 1 minute, use the minute that you have, but don't spend more than that. Okay, guys? Now, as we were saying, you have to choose 3 options out of 6 that you consider are the most important ideas in the entire passage. If you have 4 minutes, what you can do is you can review the passage again. So what you could technically do is go back to the reading if you have time, right? If you have 4 minutes or if you have 3, you can go back to the reading and scan it again. If you feel it's necessary, you can do that. You can read the title again to have an idea of what it's about in general. It's about the rice to Titicaca. You can scan the text again. And I highly suggest that if you have the time, you can try to scan the ideas from the first and from the last paragraphs, because most of the time, the correct options will be ideas that are mentioned here in the last or in the first paragraphs. So if you have some time, you can do that. If you don't have time, then you just if let's say that you have 2 minutes, that's just enough for you to read the 6 options and for you to choose the ones that you think make more sense. Okay, how do you know which ones make more sense? When you're dealing with general broad answer choices, sorry. try to aggressively eliminate the options that seem to be too specific. So let's say that one option C, let's say, says something like, I don't know. Let's say one option says, Cuicuilco was seriously affected by a volcanic eruption. Okay? So, is that correct? Yes. Is that accurate information from the text? It is, right? That's true, that's correct information. But you need to ask yourself, is that really a main idea in the text? Is that related to the Teotihuacans, to the rise of Teotihuacan? How is it related? Is it a main idea that's repeated throughout the entire text, or is it just a minor detail in the text? So eliminate the options that seem to be too specific, that seem to focus on only minor ideas, and choose the options that are more broad, that are more general. You don't have enough time to check the information. Unfortunately, if you have 3 or 2 minutes, you will not have time to check the information, to read every one of them and try to find the information in the text and see if it's true or not. Unfortunately, you won't have time to do that. So you need to aggressively eliminate the options that seem to be too specific, and you need to try to go for the ones that seem more general. If you have like 2 or 3 minutes, right? If you have more time, you can go back to the text. But generally, you will have approximately 2 or 3 minutes at most. So that's what you guys should do. Okay, guys? I'm going to give you some time. I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to try to answer this question. Choose 3 options that you consider have the most important ideas from the entire passage, and let me know what you think. Then we'll take a look at them with me. Okay, guys, so what do you think? What options would you choose?
I think C and E.
Okay,
I don't know the other one.
all right, it's fine. What about the rest? What do you guys think?
I will add A.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Okay, guys. So you know what? You are right. These are the correct choices, A, C, and E. So if we compare them with the other ones, B, D, and F, you will notice that those other ones, F, D, and B, are totally more specific, right? For example, option B says, Teotihuacan may have developed its own specific local religion as a result of the cultural advances made possible by the city's great prosperity. So option B only focuses on religion, Teotihuacan's religion. But this wasn't about Teotihuacan's religion, right? It was about the rise of Teotihuacan in all aspects, not only religion. Option D says, as a result of its large number of religious shrines by the first century AD, Teotihuacan became the most influential religious center in all of Mesoamerica. First of all, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't have time to check. But again, it's very specific, right? The most influential religious center. It could be, but it's too specific, focusing on their religion. And option F says, although many immigrants settled in Teotihuacan between AD 150 and 700, the increasing threat of forced labor discouraged further settlement and limited Teotihuacan's population growth. So what is it focusing on? Settlement and population growth. Too specific to be the one. But if you take a look at options A, C, and E, first of all, they're all general, they're all broad. They all talk about different aspects of the Teotihuacan's of the city of Teotihuacan, right? Option A says the number and sophistication of the architectural, administrative, commercial, and religious features of Teotihuacan indicate the existence of centralized planning and control. So they're talking about it all. They're talking about architecture, administration, commerce, religion, all of that. And not only that, but this is a clear example of what I was just telling you. Remember, I told you to, if you have time, check the intro and conclusion, because sometimes, like very commonly, you have the correct choices be ideas from the intro and conclusion. So in this case, if you guys take a look at the first paragraph in the text, that is what that idea came from, right? It says, it had over 2,000 apartment complexes, a grain market, a large number of industrial workshops, an administrative center, massive religious edifices, a regular grid pattern in the streets and buildings. Clearly, much planning and central control were involved. So basically, it's the same as what we just read in option A, right? It talks about commerce, it talks about administration, it talks about religion, it talks about architecture, and they say that indicates planning and central control. That's basically what option A says, right? That the number and sophistication of the architectural, administrative, and all of these features indicate centralized planning and control. So it's an idea from the introduction. It's general because it focuses on all of these factors, and it's true, right? It's accurate from the text. So it is correct. Same goes for option C. Several factors may account for Teotihuacan's extraordinary development. Plus, they are talking about Teotihuacan's development, which is at the end of the day the main topic in the text, right? Teotihuacan's rise, Teotihuacan's development. And they say that different factors may account for it, which is true, right? Actually, the text was about the factors of Teotihuacan's development. And then they say, including its location, natural resources, irrigation, elite, and misfortune of rural communities. So they basically talk about all of the factors that were mentioned throughout the entire passage. So it's general, it's true, and it's also related to the topic, right? Related to the title. So option C is correct too. And finally, option E says in many important areas, from the obsidian industry to religious tourism, Teotihuacan success typifies, or success and prosperity typify the classic positive feedback. So again, it's general. It says in many areas, from obsidian to religion, right? Including many other areas. And Teotihuacan's success and prosperity, which is true, typify the classic positive feedback side. If you guys remember, this idea was mentioned in the last paragraph, in the conclusion. It's an idea that was brought in the conclusion, right? Look at this. It says, the picture of Teotihuacan is a classic picture of positive feedback among obsidian mining, working, trade, population growth, irrigation, and religious tourism. From obsidian mining to religious tourism, Teotihuacan typifies the classic picture of positive feedback, right? Exactly the same as option E, right? In many important areas, from obsidian to religion, Teotihuacan success and prosperity typify the classic positive. So ideas from the conclusion, ideas from the introduction, ideas related to the topic in general and broad ideas, those are more likely to be correct. Okay, guys? Whereas the most specific ones, most of the time will be wrong. Okay, guys? So that would be, I guess, the strategies to follow with this question type. But most importantly, do not waste too much time. A lot of students get stuck on this question and then they have like 8 minutes for the next paragraph or the next passage. That's not a very wise thing to do. Okay, guys? So what do you think now? Do you have any questions at all? Any comments? Is everything clear so far? Is everything okay? Do you have any questions? Hey guys. So this was the last question type that we needed to see. Now we are completely officially done with the reading part, at least the theory. We've been seeing the different question types that we have. That's all you actually need to know. And from here on, it's just practicing, practicing, especially working on the time pressure, because honestly, it's easy to answer these questions when you have plenty of time. But it's not the same when you're under time pressure, when you have 1.5 minutes per question. It's totally different. So it's about practicing, about setting your mind to answering these questions faster, to read actively, to search for specific information, to expand your vocabulary, to learn words, to identify the relationship between ideas. It's just practicing, honestly. So tomorrow we're going to be practicing. We're going to be working on a different set and we'll be answering the 10 questions all at once. But what do you think so far? Do you really not have any questions before we go? Any comments? Anything you'd like to say?
I have a question. Which websites could I practice in the reading section?
Okay. So you can practice using Magoosh, maybe, or if not, you can also use the two softwares that we have in the web page of Executive English. The ones where you can do the simulations. I'm going to show you. So if you go to this web page, I'm going to send you guys the link in a little bit. And if you go here on the 4th section, Simulación TOEFL, then you'll find 2 links where you can download 2 different softwares. Here you have the 2 of them. These are like programs, softwares for your computer that you can install, you can download and run. and where you will have 10 complete practice tests for the total. Now, the good thing, and this is especially useful for the reading and listening sections, because these are the previous versions of the test. So especially in the reading section, if you have 10 complete practice sets, each practice set has 3 or 4 reading passages. So that means that in total, you should have around 30 to 40 reading passages here. Let's say an average of 35. So you have a lot of practice material in these two programs. I really recommend you download them and you have them on your computer so that you can practice reading. They are automatically scored and they are official from the ETS, which means that they are going to be very precise and very close to what you have in the real test. So I recommend you use these softwares.
Thanks.
Sure. Any other question before we go? Okay, guys. Then please don't forget today's daily survey on your screens. And I'll see you guys tomorrow so we continue practicing. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.